All right, welcome to another episode of Inquiring Minds. I am Steve Harper, and with me is my comedic sidekick and partner on this journey of Inquiring Minds, Doctor.
Dog, right.
I just
Oh
gave
my
you, I
goodness.
just gave you a promotion, Donna Carlin.
Yeah,
How are you doing, Donna?
better now that I have an MD behind my name or a PhD. I'm not quite sure what.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're probably gonna have to tell your brother now you got a promotion. So
there you go.
Steve said it. That's what So it is. How are you doing this fine
Uh,
day?
I'm great. And yourself?
I'm doing great. We were just comparing the weather, which before we clicked record, and I'm sort of jealous of the great temperatures you're having up there, and we're melting down here in Austin. So
It's glorious. We don't even need the air conditioning yet, which is we've put it on a few times here and there because of the humidity. But today is like perfect. If we could figure out how to bottle it, we would be set for life.
oh yeah, I mean you could export it down here. We would all be buying out of Texas. I promise you.
There you go.
That could be our next business idea. I don't know. Maybe
Oh,
we could be onto something.
okay. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Do
what are
we
we talking
continue?
about today?
It says like a new motto that I've come up with, and that is never do something permanently foolish because you're temporarily upset. In other words, reactive
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
equals
Yeah.
reactive.
I promise you, along with our audience, I need this one more than more than you know. I can completely relate to this because I do think that sometimes we have this knee jerk reaction to certain situations. We'll say something or we'll do something without really thinking through the consequences, and then we really are filled with those oodles of buckets of regret. as I as I have come to learn, whether it be a business decision or a response or reaction in the heat of the moment, and in a maybe a disagreement or an argument, or just firing off an email in response to something you took the wrong way, and then you kind of are like, oh, wish I could undo that email and not have it go to the intended party. But those things tend to happen from time to time.
Yep, actually, one of my clients is very wise about this, and he started writing these emails and sending them to me so we could process them in a coaching conversation, and
Mm,
him not send them. Look at perspectives and what if it was a different point of view. What if that person has a different reason why they're coming up with what they said. What if it's not about you at all. All these
yeah.
kinds of conversations. And I had a really interesting one yesterday, actually, with a client who is very angry at a couple of people who are very close, uh, close to him. And I said, "What if they loved you based on their terms, not yours?" And he
Ooh,
sort of looked at me. I said, all of us want to be loved, appreciated, respected based on what our interpretation is of that and what it looks like to us. But what if their interpretation was different and they were doing or saying what they were saying because they love you and want the best for you?
mm,
Well, that's not, they did it because of, I said, and you absolutely are sure about that. It's validatable. You had a conversation with them to find out the reason behind why they said or did something. No, I know them well enough. I said, so in other words, if they misconstrue something you said, an action that you've taken, whatever it is, the you want them to absolutely do everything based on what your likes and perspectives are and discount their own.
yeah.
Silence. And I said, you lash out based on your interpretation of what somebody has said or put words in their mouth, then you're not doing them justice. You're not honoring or respecting them by actually interpreting something wrongly and not giving them a chance to speak up for it.
Yeah.
You responding to that, not responding, it's called reaction, blowing up, whatever it is, that's going to stay with the individual a lot longer than you having that, clarifying conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I love that that perspective and that advice. I mean, it when you talk about respecting other people in terms of that response, you're actually not you're not respecting yourself in terms of how you are responding, and that often comes back to, and I think a lot of people think about this from the perspective of, gosh, I wish I hadn't done this. I wish I hadn't said this. And, you end up feeling really bad about the situation. And sometimes you can cause irreparable harm to that relationship because you were so reactionary and you lashed out. And oftentimes people don't know how to come back from that. So, having the presence of mind to stop and think before you pin that email or you send that text or you respond in that meeting, about whether this is going to help the situation or if it's going to be something that you potentially will regret by saying or doing. It's really hard in the moment. I'll tell you, it was funny because I was having this conversation with my wife the other day, and there's this guy at soccer that I play against who doesn't like playing against me and has taken to calling me not a very flattering nickname. And so I knew we were playing his team last week, and I already came into the game already thinking through what I was going to say to a zinger I was going to give to him. And and sure enough, we ended up, at opposite ends of a situation that ended up getting aggressive. And of course, I said what I said, but I ended up really regretting what I said to him. It wasn't very kind in any respect. It's kinder than what he says to me, but at the end of the day, it was when I was driving home that night, I was asking myself, do I feel better because I got that zinger out, or do I feel worse? And what I ended
Mm.
up deciding was I felt worse mainly because not so much about him, because he's a jerk, but at the end of the day, it was my teammates who couldn't believe that I had the comment that I said to him, and I felt bad about how that made me look to my teammates. Like I was not holding my temper in check, and I was amped up and ready, just waiting, right? As loaded for bear when the situation arose, and it was not a very not a very good situation, not a good feeling for me in terms of how I conducted myself in that circumstance. And then I thought through, well, of course you set yourself up. It was like a powder keg. You knew this was going to happen. You knew this conflict was going to take place. You eventually would be on the same side of the field with him. He's going to foul you and you're going to react and respond. And so walking in, before I even walked in, I was already having and telling myself the story of what was going to take place. And I thought through that, and it's like, okay, that's just something. It's not like we're going to the World Cup. Right? It's not. We're not playing from prize money or a trophy or anything. It's just a Friday night game, and to get that upset and already that worked up before the game was kind of ridiculous. But as I was thinking about it later that night, I'm like, well, this is something that we all experience or we go through, and we sometimes are telling ourselves these stories and sort of envisioning these outcomes. And if we can do it, then why can't we stop ourselves from doing it and being reactionary in the moment and just finding that other alternative? Keep your mouth shut, walk the other way. Don't, let me think about what you just said and I'll come back to you. And how many times that has not worked out for me in work or business or in even personal and professional relationships. And so it was kind of and I think maybe you didn't even realize it, but you were in my head on Friday night with this game, because I'm like, I could have handled this better, but I didn't start with the right questions. I didn't have the right conversation with myself when I knew the situation was likely to unfold the way it does. And then you think about all those situations you walk into in the course of our daily business lives, and those things happen all the time, right? It's somebody not responding to an idea the way you think they should, or a meeting that doesn't, kind of goes off the rails and you're reactionary about it, or trying to justify, giving somebody news they don't want to hear, and sort of compounding the problem by not anticipating how you should be delivering it, much less, how they should be responding to it. It's these stories that play in our head that really work against us.
I could honestly tell you that I learned how to respond to these situations. I could honestly say 99% because of my son. Because the bottom line is, if I was with him and I responded with temper, which I have, I would not be setting a good example for my kid.
Yeah.
And there were times where I just wanted to strangle some people because of their insensitivity.
Yeah.
When he was like 2, we were walking in a mall and he had just had one of his major surgeries. So the back of his legs were completely scarred. He had
Mm,
scars on his arms. He had scars on the side of his neck. And ropey scars, like really
mm.
painful, angry looking scars. And this woman came up to me in a mall and said, "What did you do to him?" Which
Oh,
scared the living daylights out of Michael. Like, he sort of grabbed me. He was walking, next
oh.
to me, and I wanted to just lace into her because that was my motherly response.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked her in the eyes just like this, and I said, "Fantastic, innovative healthcare."
Mm.
She didn't know what to do with that. Then I said to her, "I have a 2-year-old son who's been through hell because of that. And this is what you ask his mother in
Yeah.
front of him?"
Yeah.
And I just shook my head and I walk away. Again, it's the question that goes back to hold them accountable for their behavior without responding negatively to it. And I can't tell you how many times there was a time in camp where it's like 100 degrees and he's wearing long sleeves, long pants, and a turtleneck. And I'm going, "Are you out of your mind?" He said, "People are staring at my scars." So I
Mm.
said, "If they're stupid, you want to suffer?" And he just looked at me and started laughing, went back to his bunk and changed into shorts, asked to go on the PA system because it was visiting day. All these parents were around and said, "For all these parents that are staring at me, just know I had X amount of surgeries. I'm fine. Thank you very much." That was it. So again, how do you respond in a way that calls people on their behavior without becoming it?
Yeah.
And I'm talking tonight, to Tung Fu Group about that, and I realize it's putting yourself in the story, so you're not blaming others for your lot in life,
Yep.
and deflecting back to people who have inappropriate behavior, asking them in a way that reflects who they are, to say, "Is that what you really intended to say?" And if the answer is yes, you just shake your head and go, I didn't imagine that you would come up with something like that, but if you did, no words." And you
Yeah.
just
No
walk on.
words. Yeah.
No
Yeah.
words.
Yeah.
And it's just responding in a way that doesn't create conflict or any further conflict. So, somebody who's going to be inappropriate, bully, give a name to somebody that is obviously not flattering just to goad you on, you just look them in the face and say, "Seriously, that's the best you got?"
Yeah.
Because if they're
Takes
doing
all
it,
their power
they
away.
want that power
Yeah. Yeah.
for all the wrong reasons. It's not because they're great, it's because they're bullies.
Yep. You're right. As I
That's
was
it.
thinking, I should have just taken a page from my Canadian friend and just put him in the boards like hockey
Throw a hockey
and
puck.
not
Yeah,
said
there you go.
anything. I'm totally kidding. I don't condone violence except for this guy. But no, I'm just kidding. I'm
I know what
totally
you mean.
kidding.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, it's yeah, yeah. And I was thinking as you were saying that, this is what happens. It's like I'm going to one up you, right? Every situation gets ratcheted further up, right? And the reality is, the only way that you avoid that from occurring is by taking away that power and removing, the premise that they have any power over you or that they can control you with their words or their thoughts or thinking about you. When you take that away, they're left with nothing. And when you allow yourself to, I love the component of is that all you got? I mean, is that the best you can do? I mean, seriously, go back to you need to get up earlier and study harder because that's at the end of the day that's that's just weak sauce, and you just immediately take away all of the power they're trying to possess or exude over you, and they're left with nothing. And it really, that probably in the grand scheme of things has a bigger impact on them, because a lot of times what generally gets said when these things get ratcheted up, it's the story we are telling ourselves. The ego is telling us how to respond and react, and that we need to be better than this other person, or that we have to take control of the situation, or that we have to be in charge of the situation. And almost all of that has that power dynamic, that power dominance of, I'm better than you in some capacity. And when you remove the ability for somebody to say, I'm not going to be dominated, your words will not matter, they do not stick to me, and
Mm.
nanny nanny boo boo, it's like, at the end of the day, just like, yeah, okay, that's your opinion, I'm out. How much more powerful that is. One, for me, you don't feel bad about yourself and how you respond or react, or how other people saw you respond or react. And two, you've also kind of put them in their place all in one fell swoop by handling it better.
Yes, yes, and yes. I'm going to invite you to look at this in another way as well. It's one of those yes and conversations. It's not
Hmm.
only that you're taking that power away from them, what you're actually doing is reclaiming your personal power and not letting somebody else take yours from
Hmm.
you. He could do whatever he wants. If it's water off a duck's back, then it doesn't stick and he's disempowered in that whatever he's trying to do to get at you. And it's not going to do anything. So what you're doing is you're reclaiming your personal power. Another one of my mottos: I will not give my personal power to somebody I least respect at that moment in time,
Yeah.
because that would make me an idiot, and I don't want to be an idiot. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
And the minute you engage, the minute you react, they've got you.
They do.
They've actually achieved everything they wanted to achieve,
And then
and you
some.
handed it to
Yep.
them on a silver platter. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a valid point for sure. Well, I mean, I guess one quick question for you would be, when you find yourself potentially at that reaction moment, what advice do you give to our audience to hold yourself in neutral, or to stop yourself before you open your mouth or take that action?
It all depends on what's coming your way. If it's bullying, you answer back. You don't answer back with bullying. You answer back with definitive language as to, like, that's all you've got. Totally inappropriate. I won't engage in this conversation. You walk away. That's one thing. If it's one-upmanship and power over kind of attitude, and I'm smarter than you and all of this, I don't have any time for somebody like that, because if they want it to live in their heads as being the smartest person in the world, they
Yeah.
could just stay there. I will not engage with that. I know that as long as I remain curious and open to learning, I will have an enriched life. As long as they shut people down because they need to be the best, they won't have an enriched life, because they're always going to be measuring themselves against somebody else. I
Hmm.
don't have to engage. It's a very rare thing where I really have to react. If it's personal safety, one thing. If it's somebody attacking somebody in my family, don't even go there. You won't be happy with the response. However, I won't demean myself in my response to them.
Yeah.
Even the crank calls that come. I am the RCMP, and we're going to seize your records unless you share with us your last income tax, whatever. All these things that have really gotten a lot of people into trouble by losing money and whatever to these people. And I love that. I love that stuff, because I'll just say, "I have your badge number, and I want to know your full name. I work with the RCMP. I'm going to verify, and then I'll get back to you." Panic. I am off every list known to man.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you going to respond with that is factual? Number one. Number two, what is your stance in this? How much meaning does it have? Are you going to engage with somebody who doesn't deserve my respect on a subject that is not even important to me?
Yeah.
If it's
Yeah.
really, really important to me, I will look at ways to reflect on what they're saying to see if I could at least see from their story why they're saying that, and engage them in reflective dialogue to say, help me understand why this is your point of view. Help me understand.
Yep.
And then they back off because I'm listening. So there's so many different ways of doing this. It's rare that I react anymore. Oh
Right.
yeah, I'll scream and yell and swear and whatever. It's something that I read about in the news. Poor Ray, has to deal with that on a regular basis. Um, I just won't give my personal power away to somebody who doesn't deserve it.
I love it. No, I think that's great, great advice for sure. And we're gonna have to get Ray to actually put a camera in your kitchen when you're reading the paper, just so that we
Yeah.
can see this. Because I personally cannot even envision that.
Oh, it's a scream. He was
Yeah,
reading me something the other day, and I went, "Oh, for crying out loud!" And I went off, and he went, they can't hear you." I said, "That's a good thing.
yeah, yeah.
That's a very good thing."
I love it. Well, this along with all the topics I think that we generally have on Inquiring Minds, it really gets you thinking, and it really does. This was, a perfectly timed situation because I've kind of been in sort of reflective mode, which to me is a growth moment for me to actually go back and realize that situation that I experienced this past weekend was not one that felt good, and I didn't feel great about my response and my approach to it, which is a step in the right direction, right? So it means that these conversations, I mean, we're having this for our audience, but I really think that these Inquiring Mind topics and conversations are really just to improve Steve Harper's life. And so,
I have an
thank.
idea, actually.
What's that?
If you see this guy again, before you start pre-acting as to all the, crummy things he's going to do, I would walk, if it was me, I would walk straight up to him, look him in the face and say, "You know what? I was very disappointed in myself at the way I reacted to you last time, and I'm vowing not to do that again. I hope it's a good game." And you're going to take all the stuffing out of him.
I'll give it a try. We're going to see him in 2 weeks, so.
Okay, let me know.
And if that doesn't work, I'll put him in the boards. How about that?
I hope he doesn't listen to the show then, and so he'll hear that you're going to be doing that.
No, I don't. We don't have any pop up or cartoon effects. I'm kind of no. I'm just kidding. See,
See?
there I go. I'm right off. I'm off the rails again. Thank you. No, no, this was a really powerful episode. I really enjoy this conversation and the great input and feedback that you give, and you know how to how does our audience, anyone that might be watching the video on YouTube or Facebook or hearing this on any of the podcast platforms, let us know how they respond and react to this particular topic or any other topics they might like us to cover. Because what we want to do is deliver great content for our audience. So how can they do that for us, Donna?
The best way is to join our Facebook group, Inquiring Minds with Donna Carlin and Steve Harper. Join the community. Let us know what resonated with you, what you'd like us to go deeper on, or any topics of conversation you think would be good for our show. We'd really love to hear. You could obviously comment on the YouTube. I don't believe you can do on the podcasts, but it's a great way to listen to us. And I just found out that we're on Audibles, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, many ways to listen to us, but we want to hear from you.
Yes.
So, please engage and let us know what you think, and we'll keep the shows coming. I personally
Absolutely.
love to do it, so you're not getting rid of us. And I won't let Steve leave. His his website is ripplecentral.com, so you could get him individually there. I'm at Donna Carlin with a K.com, and let us know your thoughts.
Absolutely. Well, Donna, it's a great pleasure to do these conversations with you every week. And I look forward to our next episode of Inquiring Minds. Talk to you very soon.
Have a great day.